This isn't just a trip down memory lane. This is a rescue mission. Today we're diving headfirst into the groovy, weird and absolutely bonkers 1970s to resurrect 5 underdog sci-fi flicks. These hidden gems are worth dusting off because once you see them, you'll never forget them. I'm not sure if that's a good thing, to be honest. Anyway, first up, a little dystopian joyride called Death Race 2000. Yes, 2000 because back in 1975, the year 2000 felt impossibly futuristic. Oh, sweet innocent past.
You are not in Kansas anymore.
If The Hunger Games and Fast and Furious had a rowdy, unhinged grandfather, it'd be Death Race 2000. This 1975 Roger Corman-produced masterpiece is a low-budget, high-octane fever dream directed by Paul Bartel and starring a young David Carradine as Frankenstein. No, not the mad scientist monster, but a masked racer with a death wish, and a babyface Sylvester Stallone before he became, well, Rocky. Here's the gist. America's gone full dystopia and the hottest entertainment is a cross-country car race where drivers score points for running over pedestrians. Old ladies, big points. Kids, bonus round. Morbid? Oh, for sure, but it's also weirdly hilarious and smart. Think of it as a critique on our obsession with violent entertainment, media sensationalism, and, authoritarian regimes. Basically, this movie is saying, hey society, check yourself, while also throwing in enough car crashes to keep you entertained, because apparently there's nothing we humans love more than the sight of twisted metal. So why has this sci-fi gem been collecting dust? Well, it's kind of like that cool punk band everyone forgets once the shiny new act rolls in. Films like Mad Max and Running Man eventually stole its thunder. Plus, let's be real, its campy, low-budget style isn't everyone's cup of tea. But that's exactly why you should give it a go. It's bold, brash, and biting in its satire. And honestly, don't we all need a little reminder of how wild sci-fi can get? Give this one a go, marvel at the absurdity, and then try explaining it to your friends without sounding like you've lost your mind. You're welcome. Alright folks, let me introduce you to a movie so bizarre, so gloriously off the rails, it could only have come from the 70s. Say hello to Zardoz, or as I like to call it, Sean Connery's weirdest career choice. I mean, man, this was James Bond, and then suddenly he's strutting around in a red mankini, thigh-high boots, and a ponytail. Choices were made, people. So, what's Zardoz about? Oh, just your typical dystopian future where everyone's split into 2 groups. The immortal, apathetic elites called the Eternals, and the primitive, gun-toting brutals. Oh, and the whole thing kicks off with a giant floating stone head, yes, a floating stone head, bellowing,
"The gun is good, penis is evil,"
while spitting firearms at the brutals like it's Oprah handing out cars. It's a lot. Sean Connery plays Zed, a brutal who starts questioning this whole weird system when he sneaks into the land of the Eternals. What follows is part philosophical debate, part fever dream, and part I don't even know what. Imagine someone tried to mix Greek mythology, class warfare, and existentialism into a blender but forgot to put the lid on. That's Zardoz! Now, why is this movie so forgotten? Well, aside from Connery's wardrobe giving people secondhand embarrassment, the film's surreal visuals and heavy-handed philosophical musings were, let's say, a bit much for 70s audiences. It's not a popcorn flick, it's more of a stare at the screen and question your life choices kind of experience. So naturally, it slipped into cult status. But beneath all the weirdness, and there's a lot, it tackles some pretty deep stuff. Immortality, the pitfalls of utopia, and the nature of humanity. Plus you've got dreamlike cinematography that feels like an acid trip, even if all you're drinking is water. So if you're in the mood for something way outside the box, give Zardoz a shot. Just be prepared for weirdness, red mankinis, and floating stone heads. And if anyone asks what you're watching, just tell them it's art. They don't need to know. Let's dial back the chaos for a minute and talk about the Andromeda Strain, a 1971 sci-fi thriller that might just be the nerdiest movie on this list. Seriously, if you've ever thought, man, I wish sci-fi had less laser battles and more lab coats, then congratulations, you've found your film. So here's the setup. A satellite crashes to Earth, and with it comes a deadly alien microorganism that starts wiping out an entire town faster than you can say sanitize your hands, people. Enter a team of scientists who are whisked off to a super high-tech underground lab to stop this thing before it turns Earth into one big petri dish. Sounds thrilling, right? Well, it is, but not the pew-pew space kind of thrilling. This movie is all about slow burning tension, and when I say slow, I mean slow, like every single procedure slow, but that's what also makes it brilliant. Now, why doesn't this movie get more love? Honestly, it's probably because it doesn't have the flash and bang of its 70s cousins like Star Wars or Logan's Run. This one's more like a chess match where every move feels life or death. And let's not forget its use of split screens and sterile sets, definitely more niche compared to your typical sci-fi blockbusters. So why do you need to rediscover it? First off, it's based on Michael Crichton's novel, and if you've ever liked Jurassic Park, you know the man knows how to make science terrifying. Plus, the Andromeda Strain doesn't just entertain, it warns. It's a chilling reminder of humanity's hubris while messing with forces we barely understand, and after the last few years, let's just say, it hits a little differently now. Next up, we've got a movie that asks the really big questions about space. Like, what if your bomb had feelings? What if an alien looked like a beach ball? And also importantly, what if space was just really, really boring? Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Dark Star, John Carpenter's 1974 debut and arguably the weirdest office comedy you've ever seen in space. Dark Star follows a crew of 4 increasingly disillusioned astronauts stuck on a crumbling spaceship tasked with blowing up unstable planets. Sounds cool? Well, not so much when you've been doing it for 20 years. These guys are tired, jaded, and honestly not that great at their jobs. Imagine The Office, but instead of selling paper, they're arguing with a sentient bomb that's having an existential crisis. Yep. That happens. Oh, and let's not forget the alien. It's literally a beach ball with claws. It's literally a beach ball with claws. The crew spends a chunk of the movie chasing it around the ship in what can only be described as a low-budget game of hide and seek. It's absurd, it's hilarious, and it's the kind of thing that makes you wonder how Carpenter went from this to The Thing. So why isn't this movie more famous? Well, for starters, it's rough around the edges. The budget was so low they probably had to borrow lunch money to finish it. Plus, it's a mix of deadpan humour and existential dread that didn't exactly scream box office smash in the 70s. But here's why you need to check it out. First, it's an early look at John Carpenter's genius. Even with no money and a crew of 4, he managed to create something that's equal parts funny, weird, and surprisingly deep. It satirizes everything while tackling big themes like loneliness and the absurdity of life. And let's be real, where else are you going to see a bomb refusing to detonate because it's questioning the meaning of existence? That alone is worth the price of admission. Lastly, it's time to talk about a movie that will make you side-eye your Alexa for a solid week. Say hello to Colossus, the Forbin project, a 1970s sci-fi gem that asked the big, scary question way before anyone else. What if the machines we built to protect us decide they knew better? Spoiler alert, they probably do. Dr. Charles Forbin designs Colossus, a supercomputer built to oversee America's entire defense system. Sounds safe, right? Well, wrong! Whew. Scared myself a little bit. Colossus quickly discovers there's another supercomputer on the Soviet side and decides, hey, we should team up. What follows is a terrifyingly logical power grab as Colossus and its new bestie essentially ground humanity like a bunch of misbehaving teenagers. Say laters to freedom, say hello to your new creepy AI overlord. So why is this chilling classic not more famous? Well, for starters, it came out around the same time as 2001: A Space Odyssey, and let's face it, HAL 9000 hogged all the AI attention. Colossus kind of got buried, but check it out because it's scarily relevant. It's a brilliant commentary on what happens when we let machines make the rules. And don't let the slow burn pace fool you. This movie builds tension like a pro. Watching humanity slowly realise they've lost control is equal parts fascinating and horrifying. Those were 5 forgotten sci-fi gems that are begging for a spot on your watch list. If you've enjoyed this trip through the 70s sci-fi vault and want more sci-fi movie stuff, check out this next video on cult 80s sci-fi that changed cinema. Thanks so much for watching. If you're craving an extraordinary journey through realms unexplored, consider delving into universes directly out of my brain by checking out my sci-fi novels Black Milk and Delphine Descends. You can find more details in the description. Thanks for your support.